This conference will now be recorded.
So can you see my screen and hear me? Okay, right. So let's get started. So today we will discuss mainly about authorization. So how we can control the permission. For authorization, we have several options available. So one is Sentry, next is ACL. But before doing that, let me add a couple of more service because I'm going to install Hue, which I will be using for controlling my ACL and Sentry permission. So it's better to add Impala and other services also. Just let me add that Impala also. So where is it? Yeah. So Impala mainly, so this state store, catalog server, and daemon. So these are the services available. So I have only single host available. I'm going to install everything on this same server. And I'm not discussing that Impala architecture now. So now, right now, we will just go ahead and install this. That's it. And choose the default settings for configuration and continue. So it's a Kerberos enabled cluster. So definitely it will create a key tab and other details. So I have a Windows server where I used as my Kerberos service. Okay. So I just used under Hadoop.com. So Cloudera Kerberos. So this organization unit I used for creating my Kerberos key tab and all. So basically for all the services in our cluster, including Cloudera services, it will create user ID under here. Okay, you can see that ID looks like something, some different name, but it's created by, okay, so here you can see, even though it's looks like the thing, so username is zookeeper, something like that. So you can just hit that and click the properties, so that will give you the detailed name. Okay, so even though it's looking like some random name here, but it's for each and every services in our cluster. Okay, so I just installed Impala. So Impala service looks good, and it has this much components: Impala catalog server, daemon, and state store. So Impala in backend, it's using Hive data and databases. So next, I am going to install one more component called Hue. So Hue stands for Hadoop User Environment. So which is nothing but a graphical web-based tool which people use for uh, writing the query and uh, getting that workflows, etc. And before doing that, let me add UC also, because the reason why I'm doing all these things is uh, UC in Hue depends on all these components. So you can have UC Hue without UC also, but I'm just adding that before doing that. So just click the dependency, HDFS and Hive, then hit the server where we want, and this require a database. So I'm going to create a database here. Just so UC is a workflow manager. So we will see that UC in next class. So but now just understand it require a database. So let me create database UC and then create user UC at percentage identified by whatever the password you can use. Okay, then grant all privileges on UC dot start to this user. Okay, so that's it. I created a database and created a user and granted all access to that user. So I can write that username, database name, username, and password here. Just hit the show password option so that the password will be visible here. Just use the test connection. Okay, so let me. Okay, so this is tested and it's successful. Go ahead and hit continue and hit continue. So this will create. Okay, so waiting to creating credentials, and that means it's creating principal in our Kerberos, which is nothing but AD based Kerberos. You can see one more is created, right? Okay, so this is done. Now finish. So now we will install Hue. The reason why I installed all these components are in Hue we have option to view all these. I mean, Hue is nothing but a graphical based editor, so that is making use of these services in a web based console. So I'm just adding that Hue service. It's nothing but a web-based service, okay, and a graphical interface for people to interact with HDFS, then Hive, Impala, queries, etc. I'm selecting that Hue, then continue, and here I can choose the dependency. So Hive, Impala, UC, and Zookeeper. Select that, and choose the Hue server and load balancer on the same server. And Hue also require a database and username to work. So let me go to my console back, and here create database Hue, then create user Hue at percentage identified by password. Then grant all privileges on Hue dot start to this user. Okay, back here, Hue is the username, Hue and password is password. Just test connection. So if the connection test succeeds, so we would be able to continue, right? Go ahead and hit continue. The same step, the installation and configuration is going on. So it take a moment to start the services after adding it into Cloudera Manager. So we will wait until this service is get started. Okay, so this is done. Then finish. Now, okay, so since it's just started, so Cloudera will take some time to get the status updated here. So we can just hit this hue and go to this web UI, hit that link. Okay, and suppose if this is not opening or if it's pointing to internet based, I mean local ID, then we need to change that into internet based IP address. Okay, so where this hue service is running, and on that service server, so we will have to log in. So first time configuration, so we'll ask you to type some credential. So that is something like admin credential for your hue. Okay, so this is the first time I'm logging to this hue. Just type admin and whatever the password, initial password you need, just type admin. Then it's so not the login. The first name you can see create account. So we are going to create a one admin account using this one credential. Okay, then create. So whatever the password you have created and whatever the user ID you have created, based on that, it will create a new account. Okay, and here you have option to change. Okay, the high one, you can just use show databases, and you can execute this query by hitting here. So this is the tool mostly developers use. Okay, so you can create database training 01. So this will create. Now later that if you just use show databases, you can see the databases training 01. I can create multiple databases training 02. Just then I can just use databases, then create database training 03. So I can write multiple steps like this, and whatever the queries, it can be Hive query or Impala query, and I can view those details from here. Okay, and this is just a Hue console looks like, but it's with the initial credential. That is the one which we used. Okay, the first time it's asking us to create that. You can use that credential, but the problem is whatever the user you used should be available in your cluster backend. Otherwise, this job will fail. Okay, and it will run as this account. So the another option is mostly, so it's very difficult to manage this various account user IDs across the different environment or different tools. So we use the centralized authentication. So the same centralized authentication option we can apply here. So I'll show you how that works. So go to the Hue configuration. Okay, so go to the configuration, just check authentication. So you can see the authentication backend. So here we have to use LDAP backend. Okay, so desktop.auth.backend.ldap, and the next is LDAP URL. Let me save this, and okay, so this is asking me to type this LDAP URL. That is LDAP underscore URL. So here I have to choose that. So LDAP colon slash slash. So ad server dot hadoop.com colon 389. So this is the port where LDAP service is running. Okay. So in my case, so this is the uh, LDAP server. So I should be able to ping from this one, as well as if I do a telnet, and this server 389 port should be accessible. So that means, so I'm able to connect to this 389. So 389 is the port where LDAP service is running. Then the next thing I need to do is base DN. So we will just see that what is the base DN. So this is DC equal to Hadoop, comma DC equal to com. Then domain name and bind password, NT domain and bind password. Uh, so bind DN is also there. So bind DN is the user. Okay. So in my case, the bind user distinguished name is, we can get that. So I have created user created and HAdmin somewhere here. So HadoopAdmin, you can see that guest enterprise admin, HadoopAdmin. Then click on the properties, attribute editor. Here you can see that distinguished name. So this is the bind user and bind user password. So this is the password which I set for this user. Or if you don't remember the password, you can just set the password by using reset password. The option is there. You can reset the password. So that is a password for this one, and distinguished name you can get, but that won't be visible by default until and unless you select this detail option. So if you don't select this detail option, you won't be able to just hit the properties on list, but I think it's already selected that detail option. Okay, or just search list, and that won't show you that option. Okay, attribute editor you have to choose, then only you can see the distinguished name for that user and that user's password and NT domain, and where is that NT domain? You can see. Yeah, Active Directory domain is something like that. Your domain name hadoop.com, and just save that. Okay, so I just did. I'll share you this document. So these are the things you need to do. So authentication backend, just search and make sure you have selected this one. So LDAP backend and NT domain. Make sure you have selected as hadoop.com. So that is nothing but your domain name, and LDAP URL. So you have to make sure you have properly updated this LDAP URL. So base DN is the domain name or base domain name from where you have to search for this user. I think base, yeah, base underscore DN. It's not base DN. So it's a base underscore DN. And next is the bind distinguished name, the bind user ID. Okay, so that is also. So this is the user which is used for communicating with the Active Directory, and bind password. So this is the password so that this particular user is used for connecting to Active Directory. So all those things you have done, so you have to make sure you have saving that details. So once that is done, you can go ahead and restart the services. You can see whatever the changes it's made, all those things you can see that, and restart stale configuration and redeploy client configuration and then hit restart. So 1 second. Okay, I can hit finish, and now if I okay, let me log out from this, and I should be able to log in with okay, you can see this option LDAP. So looks like I can create some user. Okay, let me create any username here. So new user, new user. Then I'm just using training. Uh, 1 second, 1 second. So I'm going to create a user name. Okay, so this is the actual username, training01 at hadoop.com, and I can set the password here. And this option I can untick, then finish. So I've created a user training01, and let me try to use that training01 and user credential and go ahead and hit sign in. Yeah. So I'm able to log in with this user, and let's sign out and try training01. So if I type some incorrect password, so it won't detect. Okay, so if I just use training02 and try some password, so it won't work because right now it's using LDAP based users. So those users are from this hadoop.com domain, and this is our Active Directory server, and where LDAP service is running here, and hadoop.com is the domain. Okay, so Active Directory I have created, and this is the domain, and under that if any users are there, so that users should be able to log into the queue. And again, so they will make some restrictions like uh, I think we can make use of that, and advanced features, or from the queue just search with the So username pattern, I think we have some filter option we can make use of and filter out only those particular user. Also, the base DN we can control from where we can filter the users or groups. So at this time, so it should be able to log in all the users which are under hadoop.com and whatever the organization unit. Okay. So this is the under this domain and this is the host where we have installed Active Directory and base DN. If you change it to some other organization unit, then it will choose the users from that list. And this is the basic thing you need to do just for configuring an Active Directory authentication for Hue. Okay, so Hue, like I said, if there are a number of users or consumers or developers in your Hadoop environment, so they most of them use Hue. So they use this to submit their job. Okay, so if I have user training 01 and so if they use with their credential, so they should be able to log in and they should be able to do queries and they can choose whatever the things they want, if it's Impala or Hue, Hive, so they can execute those things. So just choose Impala, then show databases will list all the databases. So this is nothing like creating switching logging to a user and connecting beeline and executing the show database. So not only show databases, so if you have any complicated or big query, so you can paste it here and execute. So similarly, we have option to execute a lot of things like we have option to Impala, pick and MapReduce, shell. You can execute scoop, DCP, and so those things and all we can do from this Hue. So we just install and integrated with the Active Directory. So this is the one we mostly need to do. But other than that, so this service, since it's a web-based service, just helps the user to do queries and all. So this service itself does not require much maintenance and activities, but so only the one-time task we may need to do this integration and all. Later, it will work very well. So any questions on the Hue side? Hope you are able to understand how we just integrated Hue with the Active Directory. We just need to make use of this Active Directory to log in to this Hue. That is the reason I use Active Directory for this authentication. So in real-time production environment, so most of the people do that integration because they don't want to keep our user ID to be separate for each and every thing. So we all use a centralized authentication mechanism to do. Okay, next, so we will try to install and configure. We will check this ACL part. Okay, before moving to Sentry, and for that, let's try to switch to the user which we created. Okay. Mm, but since it's a Kerberos enabled environment, okay, and uh, even if you just switch to HDFS, so you won't be able to use like HDFS DFS -mkdir /user slash. And another thing, okay, let's just switch to this training user itself, training 01, and just use HDFS DFS -ls. Okay, so I think the same error we have. Okay, now we type. So the reason is maybe some of the Kerberos libraries may be missing. So let me just use. Now just switch to training 01. HDFS DFS -ls. Okay, I think we have got the same error some time back. Okay, so not KRB5. So this open LDAP library. So we just need to install. So the reason is some of the open LDAP libraries are missing. So maybe that is the reason. Just oops. Let me check the file. Okay, let me go to this /var run Cloudera ISCM agent, then process, and here I can just use ls-lrt and then grep with the name node. So the last modified one I will go and get the key type file. Okay, so this file I'm just copying to wherever I need. So maybe under /root. Then I can just do a k in it. First do a k list and check that principal name. So okay, then do a k in it -kt this one. Now we type hdfs dfs ls/. Okay, so this is also showing same issue. One security privileged road SSL cause PGSS I think maybe once this is done, we will just do a reboot the server and see. So let's connect. Okay, Cloudera manager is not initialized yet, so we will wait some time to get this window. Can just use telnet localhost 7180. Okay, so this is fine. Now just use admin. Okay, so now we will go back here and try this HDFS command. To the administration security. Okay, so another. Okay, so we will just try to create one more user. Uh, mm, Okay, so 20173 master1.hadoop.com, that is correct. Okay, so we will just check this error message. Okay, so they are saying like to set this proper path and try. Okay, so slash user java 1.8 yeah. That is also okay. What I'm going to do here is I'm just trying to revert the changes that we made yesterday. Slash user java jdk 1.7 Cloudera. Okay, and use this one as slash etc default Cloudera SCM server, and use this option. And here from the Cloudera manager, let's try that configuration, change it to this one and save it. and we will check whether it's using the old Java. And once the Cloudera manager is up and running, we will try to log in.
I'm sorry, Sujesh, I think joined late. You started a little early today.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay. So what we're trying to do here, just so I'm back on track.
No, the one thing we tried is we just installed a couple of services and Hue we integrated with this Active Directory. And the next is like I was just checking some of the services. Like the problem is like I just started getting the same error which I got earlier. Okay, and even after installing this package, so that error is not, I mean, it's getting resolved. So I just thought of changing Java back to the old one and try.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, please, thank you.
So mainly we were just trying to do this Sentry and all install and configure, but before that, so I need to make sure like so this is working fine. Okay, so this is done. Okay, so let's go back to here and switch to so let me do a k destroy and then k init, then do a k list and then hdfs dfs and this is also not working. So even after changing that also does not make any.
Sujesh,
Yeah,
so is it somewhere we can enable the trace or something? I think we are not getting a ticket, isn't it?
no, we are getting the ticket and uh, just a second, let me try this one also /user java. Sorry, krb5 underscore okay, 1 second. Okay, towel. Don't know why really this is saying exporting will resolve. Destroy and then do a k init. That is not also not helping. Last time also we got the same a similar issue, but just installing this OpenLDAP resolved that issue. That was something like some library.
I'm guessing, but what about, is there anywhere we have kept that domain name in a smaller case, lowercase, because I got the same thing GSS initiate failed, and that
Hmm.
was due to the smaller this thing domain name I kept in a smaller in lowercase.
Okay. Mm, but here at, okay list this is getting okay. Then this is not working. Let me try to regenerate. I don't know, like so. Select all and regenerate the key tab.
Oh,
Okay.
you just stop them, all of them.
Okay, so what we will do, okay, so we will just add this Sentry service and then we will continue tomorrow because I don't want to waste your time also. Let's quickly add that and do the configuration, but the testing and all we will try tomorrow, or I mean next day. So we'll just go ahead and add the service, and so the Sentry is the service that we can use. Okay, so for example, one second, I just let me just check whether I'm able to do a beeline -u jdbc colon I2 colon // and master1 dot 10,000 / default / principal equal to. So we just need to find out the principal that is used for Hive. So you can go to the security and Kerberos, just search with the Hive. We will get that principal name. So this is the principal name, and we can try to use this one and then connect. So the same something wrong with this Kerberos. Okay, so that is the reason we are not even able to connect. It's unknown problems. It's all showing us this Kerberos related issue. Okay, maybe that even like the small things like NTP, we will just check the status of NTP and time. Systemctl status NTPD. NTPD is down. Systemctl status. Because the time is very important. In our case, NTPD servers was not running. So the time should be the same between the Kerberos server and the host. So that also will be maybe an issue, but we are not sure. So in our case, the NTPD service was down. So just enable that NTPD and to k destroy, then k init. Oops. Nothing is working. Okay, fine. So we will just I'll just try to. Okay, so it's done. So let's try to add this service. So go to the add service and you can just add this Sentry. So Sentry is the service which is used for authorization. That means you can control the permissions like who can access or who cannot access, especially on the Hive databases and tables. Just hit that service and then continue. So Sentry server and gateway service, you can choose. The Sentry server is the main component, so that you can install on any one of the server. Gateway is nothing but the client components, like the commands. So you can add Sentry on one of the server and then hit continue. Like other services, so it also require a relational database. So you can just use that, log into MySQL database and create database Sentry, then create user Sentry at percentage identified by password, then grant all privileges on Sentry.start to the user, whatever the user is, this one. That's it. So we use that username, database name, username, and password, and then try to connect. Okay, then once that is done, go ahead and hit continue. So something, some issue has reported. Okay. So I will have to sort it out, and maybe, or else what I will do, I will just go ahead with a fresh installation. I think some misconfiguration during that Kerberos setup, so that might cause this thing. So let's wind up for now, and maybe next week we will continue. We will just take 1 hour extra on the next 2 days, and we can finish this thing. Okay.
Before we wind up, Sajesh, I want to stress that I think we should do our classes on a cluster, and hence I want to ask other guys that if I'm happy to contribute extra. Second
Mhm.
option, I can give my instances, but I think it will be really cumbersome to giving you my username and password, because I realize that the same username and password I use for shopping as well. So
Mhm.
what I'm proposing, and I'm honestly proposing that, and I would suggest other guys, please speak, that if you guys wants to Sajesh to teach us on cluster, then let's contribute where Sajesh can pay, for the bill generated by cluster. As there's no point. That's what I feel personally. That's my suggestion, and I'm happy to contribute whatever you ask, Sajesh. I'm happy to pay.
Mhm.
And I want to ask other guys like Prasad, Venki, and RK. I think no, I can't see them today. But guys, speak up, and if you want to, learn things on cluster or a single instance. Guys, are you there? Prasad, Venki, can you speak? Kavita?
I think most of the people are on mute. Okay, so
Anyway, what I want to learn, because you see what I mean. I have been learning. Let me tell you, this is my probably fifth and sixth Hadoop course, yeah. And to whomever I approached in past, they all were, trying to fool me out. But
It's Prasad here.
hi, Prasad.
You can use my cluster. My cluster is readily available. I will pay whatever charges. Don't worry, because my cluster is on Google Cloud. It's free. Right now, I have a $200 credit free.
What happens that I think what I'm always suggesting, instead of doing that, because if you want to use your cluster for your testing, right, and if Sajesh will be doing it, then they are two different things. You see what I mean? So what I was proposing, that if we can contribute little more to Sajesh, and Sajesh can have his own cluster. So when he's teaching in on his cluster, yeah, and we are doing our practice on our clusters. You see where I'm coming from? We just need to contribute a little more, so he has enough funds to run his own cluster instead of doing single instance. That's what my point I'm trying to make. And I want to urge everyone, Venki, Kavita, if you are listening to me, please respond. Kavita is saying he's ready to contribute, and I think we have consensus that I think let's do that way. Sajesh, you decide how much you want to charge extra. Let me know, and I'm very honest on that one. If others not ready to pay, I will contribute. I'll
okay,
pay
okay.
for others.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. We will next we will do it on a multi-node instance itself, because
Fantastic.
yeah, we'll do that, because the reason like the past few weeks, even though I was not using, the charges was a bit higher, mainly maybe storage and other thing. No problem, but maybe we will try to finish, because the problem is if we are closing or just canceling the class in between, again I was not deleting that instances and all, I was just keeping. So we will try to cover maximum class as possible, and then maybe if you are okay, just we will just extend 1 more hour in the next week, so that we can cover all those things.
Absolutely. And because you're going to redo this whole thing anyway, so rather than redoing this whole thing on a single instance, there's no point. You will be wasting your time. So let's do on cluster, and that is the right approach to do it. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Sure.
Super.
Understand.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kavita, and thanks, Prasad. Yeah, let's contribute.
Yeah, let's continue. Maybe, and also, I don't know, Prashant, your time zone is, I mean, that due to that, what do you call that time change in US and other states, so people are, I think, a bit okay to start it bit early. I mean,
5 o'clock. That's fine. 5 o'clock, I can do that. That's fine.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Okay, so thanks, guys, and we will do it next week. So we will have to do this Sentry, especially the policy setting, how to control the Sentry. By using Sentry, we can control the Hive database permission and all. So that we will be discussing mainly in the next class. Also the ACL. So these two comes under authorization part. Okay, so that we will do in the next class. Also, I know like we missed a lot of classes in between, so please keep that momentum and try to do a lot of practice.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So we will meet then next week again. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. Bye.